Good evening, everyone. This meeting is being held in accordance with the public laws of 1975, Chapter 231. An adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a notice sent to the Asbury Park Press, 2 River Times, and the Star Ledger, and posted in the main lobby of the municipal building and on the municipal website. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a roll call, please, Laura.
Councilmember Bonacakis? Here. Councilmember Cassidy?
Present.
Councilmember Stacy Blackwood? Here. Councilmember Forrest?
Present.
Councilmember Janot? Here. Councilmember Trujillo? Here. Mayor Porter?
Here. All right, we have a few proclamations. So, first one is for Black History Month. Whereas each February National Black History Month serves as both a celebration and a powerful reminder that Black history is American history, Black culture is American culture, and Black stories are essential to the ongoing story of America, our faults, our struggles, our progress, and our aspirations. And whereas across the generations, countless Black Americans have demonstrated profound moral courage and resilience to shape our nation for the better, and in the face of wounds and obstacles, including enslavement and segregation perpetuated by the nation itself, Black Americans lead in every part of society today, strengthening and uplifting all of the United States of America. And whereas America is a melting pot of cultures and ethnicities, all part of the land of the free, Black History Month fosters cultural awareness and understanding while encouraging education about contributions made by Americans of color. And whereas the celebration of Black History Month is a positive way of recognizing the culture and history of African Americans as vital to the core beliefs and values of our society. And whereas on behalf of the Borough Council and myself, we ask all borough residents to join in carrying forward the work to build a beloved community as described by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Our goal is to create a beloved community, and this will require a qualitative change in our souls as well as a quantitative change in our lives. Now, therefore, I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, do hereby proclaim and observe February 2024 as Black History Month and encourage the local citizenry to actively raise their own awareness of Black history, to recognize the struggles, achievements, and contributions of Black Americans throughout local Black History Month events. Next is a proclamation for American Heart Month. Whereas cardiovascular disease, including heart disease, stroke, and high blood pressure, is responsible for 1 out of every 3 deaths, it is the #1 killer of American women and men, and it is a leading cause of serious illness and disability. And whereas across our nation we have lost devoted mothers and fathers, loved siblings, and cherished friends to this devastating epidemic, during American Heart Month, as we honor their memories, let us recommit to improving our heart health and continuing the fight against this deadly disease for ourselves and our families. And whereas Americans of all backgrounds can be at risk for heart disease and stroke, and nearly half of all adults have at least one major risk factor. However, individuals who are at high risk often do not know it, and data suggests that many people who experience sudden cardiac death do not act on early warning signs. That is why it is important to understand the risk factors for cardiovascular disease, such as obesity, inactivity, and diabetes, and to keep your blood pressure and cholesterol under control by maintaining a healthy diet, getting regular exercise, and not smoking. You can control risk factors and help protect your heart. And whereas, on Friday, February 2nd, I invite all Red Bank citizens to join in marking National Wear Red Day by wearing red to help raise awareness of cardiovascular disease and provide an important reminder that it is never too early to take action to protect our health. This month, let us reaffirm our resolve to fight this epidemic and continue our work to build a brighter future for our families. Now, therefore, I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, to hereby proclaim and observe February 2024 as American Heart Month, and I invite all citizens to participate in National Wear Red Day on February 2nd, 2024, and join me in recognizing and reaffirming our commitment to fighting cardiovascular disease. And finally, we have a proclamation honoring the retirement of Linda Hewitt from the library. Whereas the Borough of Red Bank has been informed of the retirement of Linda D. Hewitt on January 31st, 2024, and whereas Linda Hewitt has been a valued and an integral staff member of the Red Bank Public Library for over 15 years, and whereas she has always taken pride in her work, shown a willingness to help where needed, been ready to take on new challenges, and demonstrated professionalism, friendliness, and kindness to all library patrons and staff as both the circulation supervisor and the adult programming and community outreach coordinator. And whereas she was the creator of many innovative adult programs, including the award-winning Let's Talk About Race program, of which she is especially proud. And whereas she developed and maintained partnerships with many local organizations that were mutually beneficial and garnered her respect and admiration throughout the community. And whereas she initiated and oversaw the library's very successful volunteer program, which provided direction and purpose to numerous individuals of all ages. And whereas she was instrumental in establishing the library's art gallery and displays so the public could admire the work of local artists. And whereas she was always a loyal team player, the one who would be the first to circulate a card of birthday greetings, congratulations, or sympathy to staff members and patrons alike. And whereas whenever there was a snag, a long overdue library item, a patron a little bit reluctant to return something, or some issue needing attention, Linda was the one you wanted on the case. Now, therefore, I, William Portman, on behalf of the Council and citizens of the Borough of Red Bank, do hereby gratefully acknowledge Linda Hewitt's years of service to the Red Bank Eisner Memorial Library and wishes her a happy and healthy retirement.
Say that nothing could have ever been done without an incredible team of colleagues, a great town in which to work, all our volunteers, and everybody in a great community of Red Bank. Thank you very, very much.
Laura's coming down too. She wants in.
I went out.
We got library staff here.
And the whole staff. Guys, everyone.
Okay, we can get all the pics.
All of you have to join. Even Mary Ellen in the back.
Go there.
Mary Ellen.
Ellen, employee, Mary Ellen.
Come on, Mary Ellen.
Please.
You're tall, you can stand in the
Red
back.
Bank Library is definitely cornerstone.
Yes.
They're special people. Hey.
One, two, three.
Congratulations for your retirement.
Whose money was short? That's important.
All right, Sue.
Have a good one. Thanks for coming out. See y'all.
Yeah.
Class leaders.
Yeah.
Congratulations again.
Thanks.
Okay, can I have a motion to open the floor for public comments on agenda items only? Have a second? All in favor? All right, these are public comments on agenda items only. Anyone have anything?
Alan, you're up.
Good evening, my name is Alan Hill, 64 McLaren Street. And there are, excuse me, there are a couple of points I'd just like to raise from the agenda. And I'm really going to start with the reintroduction of Bond Ordinance 2024-02, which is the Red Bank Station pedestrian improvements, and a sum of close to $1 million or so. I can't help, and I know other people can't help, seeing the bigger picture. And with the councils being bumped into making it the area around the station a redevelopment zone, and this one coming along, I can't help thinking that there's something bigger afoot. But what I really want to make sure of is this, is that, one, we don't go making changes around the station for bike and ped, which this grant seems to be for, and then that all being undone by the redevelopment plan, or even the developers themselves. And two, it actually, because this is really things that should be done by the developers. It really should. In a decent community, people who are going to develop places should be actually improving the infrastructure themselves. And it's not a big deal for other places. I mean, I know of other places you get a development, but you have to build a school, you have to build a clinic, and you have to do these other things, you have to improve. And this isn't such a new idea either, because for several years now, this town has been a signatory to the Complete Streets manual. And very part of the Complete Streets manual means that people making zoning and planning applications have to put in what contribution, what improvement to the streets, and what steps they're doing to make the area around meet the Complete Streets manual. Something this town has never done. Never done. And so, as I say, I'm just worried. This is money that, as I say, will either be written off by developers, or because there'll be a new, new street plan, a new pattern for pedestrians, and so on. I'm also really worried that this is just a little bribe for the right sort of developers, the sort of developers that meet the, I was going to say the needs of this council. It's more the question of this council meeting the needs of developers, and that's what it looks like. So I would really like to know how this $1 million is being spent, and what will be done to actually protect that investment in the future.
Jim, I don't know if you're aware yet. I was under the impression that this is for mostly Monmouth Street. Like, how far down is this improvement? This is broad to Shrewsbury, so this is all of Monmouth Street. So really a very small part would be affected possibly by any train station development there. Right.
Well, what fools me is it's called the Red Bank Station Pedestrian Improvements.
Yes. Yeah, well aware of that. What's that?
So this was an existing grant funding that was awarded to the borough prior to the majority of the people sitting on this dais, 2022. And actually, upon getting our stuff together, we realized that this was a grant that was not being tended to properly.
That to expire.
Correct. So we discovered that, and that the majority of this funding was already lined up, and that's the basis of the project. I can understand how maybe the title of it was confusing, but I hope now that we've explained that this work would not be impacted by the train station area, those sidewalks would still remain, they would still be there, and improving them would be a major benefit regardless of what happens in that area.
A major benefit to the builders as well. Yeah?
No, I walk on sidewalks. It's a major benefit to my family and everybody who lives here.
Thank you. Speaking of benefits to investors, I'm moving on to 2437, authorising developers agreement, Azalea Gardens. I read that and I see it's really reintroducing an ordinance made by, I think, is it planning or zoning, about that area. And I'd like to know when planning or zoning actually passed that ordinance or those requirements for planning. It's about the subdivision into so many plots and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I don't know.
No. Because once again, I feel the town is complicit in providing tax benefits for investors. There's only one reason Azalea Gardens has been basically derelict now for years, almost since I've moved here, which isn't that long, but it's about 6 years or so. And the only benefit really is to the investor, and it's a tax write-off. When you go to the website of the people who own Azalea Gardens, that's what they say their business is making themselves tax efficient and keeping areas like that as a write-off. So what are we going to do about that? I mean, I've got a proposal about that, and that is when people apply for planning and zoning, they get a time limit at which to start it and get it going. And if they fail to meet that target, they have to put in for it again. They have to put their... And we see this all the time, don't we? We see this new building opposite the station. Goodness knows where all of a sudden we spend a whole evening, 3 hours here discussing it. And then about the next day, they withdraw. And funny enough, a few days after that, we find out about the station redevelopment by Denholtz and NJT. It all looks very dodgy. And you have to get a grip of this. You have to. And given the history of this council, or at least some of the people on this council, we know where people's sympathies lie. So you really need to get a grip of that. And I think those are my comments.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Just a matter of that. That's the other thing I'm getting fed up with here. Is you come here, you make comments, you ask questions, and you just say, thank you for your comments. We never hear a decent answer or response.
Well, your first point was a question that we answered, and your second one, I'm not quite sure what the question was. It was a bit of a tirade.
A tirade. Will you please minute it as such? Alan Hill made a tirade or tirade. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appalling.
Yes.
Suzanne Viscomi, 25 Cedar Street. Resolution 24-32 is a pledge for sustainable land use. And as you read through all the bullet points below, it's a great pledge. But I was just wondering, I didn't see any mention about affordable housing. There was discussion about diverse and mixed housing and green designs and using our natural resources. But I was just wondering, why wasn't there any mention of affordable housing?
Yes, you want to? Go ahead. Go ahead, Initiative.
I initiated this resolution as part of one of the requirements that we have to do for Sustainable Jersey as we're going through our certification. And under a mix of land uses, they say we pledge to use our zoning power to allow a mix of residential, retail, commercial. It doesn't specify if it is affordable, unaffordable housing, but this is a standard boilerplate resolution that we pull from the state of Jersey.
Are you able to change it?
I don't know.
I mean, I think because it's such a big issue in this town, it'd be nice to highlight something like affordable housing.
Well, it does say we pledge through the use of our zoning and revenue generating power to foster a diverse mix of housing types and locations. So essentially, it is covered by that phrase.
It's always good to be clear. My next question is Resolution 2434. I was just curious, it looks like some of these grants, I guess, are being canceled. So I was just wondering, like, for example, what the New Jersey Forest Service Community Forestry $30,000 grant that was appropriated for, why we didn't use it, or what was it for? Was it for, like, trees in the town, or?
It's my understanding, discussing this with the CFO, that the funds were already put in capital improvement outlay so that they could be canceled out of the grant appropriation budget. It's just a matter of course.
So these grants were used?
Right.
Yes.
Yes, and then the tree actually needs to use those too, so.
Right. Specifically, the New Jersey Forest Service Community Forestry Program grant. This has been used. I think there's only a small piece missing before the grant is officially closed out. But from an accounting perspective, they're just basically moving the money from the grant fund to the capital fund, if I understand that correctly. The only thing left on that is the planting of 9 trees that died, and you can't plant in the winter, so they're going to be planting in the spring.
So that's for the bottom, the New Jersey Forest Program.
It's just-
But what about the top one, was the senior citizen prior year? It says under canceled 2 operations, was that not used?
That money was already moved. So again, this is a matter of course in our budget, and the CFO has to clean these things up, so you have to essentially cancel it out of the grant line item and move it over to the general capital.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online? Oh, Mary Ellen.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ellen Mess. I live at 95 Hudson Avenue. I'm a little late to the party, but I was just curious. Could somebody just in a nutshell tell me what the developer's agreement with Azalea Gardens is? That's a half a block from my house, and as Mr. Hill said, has been derelict for many years. I'm just curious to know what we're agreeing to.
I mean, so, in the first instance, this developer's agreement pertains to approvals that were obtained through the land use board. So, if you live that close to tree, I notice there's a whole hearing.
Right, it was a zoning
This
board.
developer's agreement changes nothing of what you heard at that land use board hearing.
Okay,
As part of the land use approvals, the developer is required to comply with various fees and things that have to do with the borough. So, for example, sewer connection fees due from the developer are $35,706. Water connection fees are $15,213. Water vulnerability fee, $3,520. And there are also requirements in the borough's ordinances as to how, well, a few things. One, performance guarantees and then maintenance guarantees for example, developments and sidewalks, which I agreed to as part of this, and then they crack. There's a bond for that for 2 years after they're complete, as well as how they conduct the construction and the time period in which they do that. So this developer's agreement essentially memorializes what you heard as the land use board. It's their purview as to whether to approve or deny things. And then the things that touch upon the borough, this developer's agreement addresses all of those. Keeping the construction site clean while they're doing it. They have 4 years to complete what's contemplated in the approvals. For the borough's sake, the land use board can grant, it's actually less than that, the land use board, they can grant extensions. But this is really just the borough side of what you heard at the land use hearing. There's no tax breaks, there's nothing beyond what you heard at the land use board. The developer owns a piece of property and is going to develop it. It has to comply not only with what the land use board told them in the site plan, but also connecting to the borough's infrastructure and all the other things you have to do to become a building that's served out the borough. So that's what the developer's agreement does in general.
All right, well, thank you for that very detailed description. I do appreciate that. You know, when someone alludes to tax abatements, kind of,
So I'll give you.
I don't really, I'm very sensitive to that because I don't know about the rest of you, but I've had a nice hefty increase to my tax bill this year, and I would hate to think that we were letting developers off the hook. So thank you for
So
your...
if I can give you a tip. If this goes before land use board, other than for site plan approval, like for the subdivision and all this sort of stuff, it can't have a tax abatement. Because in order to have a tax abatement or pilot, you have to have an area need redevelopment or an area need rehabilitation. So when you see a developer's agreement for someone who doesn't have one of those two things, it can't be a tax abatement. That's why they're at the land use board to begin with. Because there's no redevelopment plan or other rubric for them to pursue other than the ordinary course of the land use board. So if they're at the zoning board, they can't get a tax abatement. Essentially, that's why they're at the zoning board to begin.
Okay. Well, thank you very much
You're
for
welcome.
that informative presentation.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments on agenda items? No? No one mind you? All right. I have a motion to close the public comment on agenda items.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second? All in favor? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes and reports from 1/11/2024? Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Let's get to the ordinances. First up is public hearing and adoption 2024-01, amending the bond ordinances 2023-06 and 2023-18 for lead service line replacement for $4,960,000. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing on this ordinance only?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone want to comment on this? This is the one where we found a lot more lead lines on the west side than we thought we would. So we increased we're getting a loan from the iBank with a 50% forgiveness. So we increased it because we have to, by law, replace these lead service lines. So this increase will allow us to complete replacing, I believe, on the west side, as well as doing all the test pits that are needed on the east side as well in this phase. So we had a much longer time to do this, but we figured let's just take advantage of the funding there and get it done for Winnipeg. So.
Mayor, I just want to say that I appreciate everybody's aggressive, this whole council, everybody's aggressive stance on this. You know, it's really remarkable. This is a really important project. I know that this has been an inconvenience to residents in town, to other people. You know, I spent my morning the other day responding to a gas leak for my other hat as a firefighter from Kent Struck. But this is a good kind of headache. This is a good kind of work. This is important work. This is about clean drinking water. And I'm just really appreciative that we have a council that just doesn't think that this can wait and understands the importance of the work.
Anyone else have any comments on this ordinance? No?
I actually have a question, Mayor.
Yeah.
I'm a benefactor in that, you know, my house, 16 Locust Avenue, has this done, and we're grateful for it. We always have filters on our water there. Am I allowed to vote on this, Counselor, or what's the story?
Yes, because in general, we're doing it for everyone in town.
Okay, just want to check.
You good?
Mayor, may I say something?
Sure.
I want to echo what Kate said and also state that I am appreciative of Borough taking a very aggressive stance with this because we do have a lot of young children in town and the lead levels, I think I do remember a couple years back meeting that they were pretty high. So this will allow us to have the residents have clean drinking water. So thank you.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance only?
I'll make that a motion.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-01?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Monatakis? Yes. Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Casey Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janot?
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes.
And Mayor Portman.
Yes. All right, motion passes. Next up, we have public hearing and adoption of 2024-05 ordinance to amend the salary ordinance. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing on this ordinance only? Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any comments? Or Jim, you want to, just let's explain, or we might as well explain exactly what we're doing
This is
here.
only, and I know that the entire salary ordinance is posted, but this is
Posted.
mic'd up now. This is for the creation of the human resources manager position. In the first couple of weeks of being here, it became evident, and also during the interview process, desire of mayor and council to institute and make sure that we have robust and what we need in place, human resources throughout, with our borough employees. I want to make sure that we institute an employee assistance program, which we currently lack, and address any concerns as far as our employee handbook, policies need to be updated, and make sure that we're working with the joint insurance fund on our EPL claims. In order to do that, we need to put a human resources professional in place so that the employees have an opportunity to come to somebody on a confidential nature that may be just under my purview, but still report to the administration. So this is putting that position in place.
So a question here?
Yeah.
Mr. Gann, what exactly is the employee assistance program? Not having worked in a borough, I don't know what it is. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, it's a program that's put in place usually through professional service or an actual company that specializes in it, but it gives the employees the ability to confidentially go to seek any sort of counseling that they may need. It's actually a resource for them and their families. It's an investment that we're making in our employees to make sure that they're coming to work and being, the best that they can be. Our managers or our department heads, they're expected to do so much, but they're not expected to be therapists and psychologists and everything else that sometimes falls upon a boss in a sense. A lot of employees look to the boss for answers. But there's going to be times where they're bringing things that are at home, maybe into the workplace, and it's unavoidable. And we want to make sure that we have the resources in place to direct them and have them answer their questions. A lot of the employee assistance programs offer 3 free counseling sessions, so we'll make sure that when we do go out for that sort of program, that that's in place as well, so they don't feel burdened to just go and talk to someone.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions about this ordinance? No? Can I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance only?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-05?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Monatakis? Yes. Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Casey Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janot?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trujillo?
Yes.
Mayor Portman.
Yes. Okay, next is a reintroduction of 2024-02 bond ordinance for Red Bank Station pedestrian improvements for $965,000. This ordinance requires a reintroduction due to the amended amount to be bonded. Can I have a motion to approve on introduction?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Monatakis? Yes. Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Casey Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janot?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trujillo?
Yes.
Mayor Portman.
Yes. Public hearing for this ordinance will be on February 8th. Next up is an introduction of 2024-06, amending Chapter 64 Fire Department to increase the borough's annual contribution and implement annual inflation adjustments to its length of service awards program for volunteer firefighters and first aid squad members. Can I have a motion to approve on introduction?
Just Mayor, really quick, just to clarify for the public, myself and Councilman Cassidy are firefighters, and we are both eligible for LoSAP, so we're abstaining. So someone else make your motions.
So, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Folanakis? Yes. Councilmember Cassidy?
Abstain.
Councilmember Pace Blackwood? Yes.
She.
Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janelle?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Juliano?
Abstain.
And Mayor Gordon?
Yes. All right. Next up is an introduction of 2024-07, amending Chapter 680, Vehicles and Traffic, to create a loading zone on Oakland Street near Maple Avenue to ensure safe student drop-off and pickup at Red Bank Borough preschool facilities. It's pretty self-explanatory, that one. Although we have the details here, anyone wants to hear about them. Can I have a motion to approve this on introduction?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Folanakis? Yes. Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Pace Blackwood? Yes. Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janelle?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Juliano?
Yes.
Mayor Gordon?
Yes. Thank you. What was the resolution, your East Side parking lot project? Do we have to make a motion to amend the title of it? Oh, it's correct here? Okay, great, okay. Are any of these need to be pulled out and done separately? Anyone? Do on the consent agenda? Everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve resolutions 2429 through 2438 on the consent agenda?
Sure, yes.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Folanakis? Yes. Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Pace Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janelle?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Juliano?
Yes.
Mayor Gordon?
Yes. Okay, can I have a motion to open the floor for public comments?
I'll make such a motion.
Sure. You know what, hold that for one
Rescind that
second.
motion.
Under discussion and action items, we have a letter from Director Ebanks, Director of Community Development. We sent the new HPC regulations over to the planning board to see if there was consistency with the master plan, and I received a letter back from the planning board, so I will read it into the record. On January 16, 2024 planning board meeting, the board reviewed ordinance NP 2024-03 entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 9 Boards, Committees, Commissions, and Chapter 490 Planning and Development Regulations to enhance the Historic Preservation Commission and to supplement the borough's regulations as to historic district and historic sites. The board recommends the omission of 490-55 F6D19 in the amendment of the ordinance. The board found that issuing a certificate of economic hardship should not be subjected to the review of an applicant or owner's income tax bracket. To this end, apart from the provisions cited above, the board has found that the amended ordinance is consistent with the borough's master plan and planning and zoning objectives and recommends adoption by the governing body.
So,
Do we need to take any action on this, Mr. Mayor?
I don't know, it's just the attorney.
I would just ask if is the council okay with incorporating the planning board's recommendation to the final ordinance? Okay. I don't, that's not a substantive change. You saw it by the site itself, it's 7 layers deep in the ordinance. So we could have that for adoption on February 8th. Everyone's okay with that change? Okay. All right, we'll have a public hearing and adoption on February 8th.
Okay, so we had a motion open the floor for public questions and comments.
second.
There's a second, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Georgina, please.
Is it live? Good evening, Mayor, City Council, neighbours. My name is Georgina Shanley. I am a Red Bank resident, and as you can tell, I have a frog in my throat.
Just state your address too, Georgina.
It's at Harding Road. Do you want the whole thing?
The whole thing.
115 Harding Road
Thank you.
in Red Bank. Please excuse the frog, I'm just getting over laryngitis. Okay, I'm here tonight. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak. It's really an honor. I'm here tonight to introduce a resolution for hopefully that you on council will pass enthusiastically. And it is a resolution calling for the ceasefire, the immediate ceasefire of all destructive actions in Israel and in Gaza, the release of the remaining hostages, and to allow full humanitarian aid to the starving and sick Palestinians. One may wonder why it's been introduced to Red Bank, but it's not the only city in the United States that has passed these resolutions. There are many, many cities and school boards throughout the nation. Also, we have a vested interest in this, not only because of our conscience, seeing all of these people being killed and being held hostage, but also because we are paying for the bombs and the bullets with their taxpayers' money. And on October 7th, it's 110 days ago, Hamas did a barbaric massacre of 1,300 men, women, and children in Israel. 240 citizens were also taken hostage. And these hostages, I think there are 100 remaining, are in dungeons in Palestine, in the occupied territories. And it's time, really, for us to ask our president and our elected officials to call for a ceasefire and to intercede in this action. We have We have 2 million people in Gaza who are without homes, without food, without medical attention. We talk about having a housing crisis in Red Bank and throughout the country, but this is really a very serious and it's a humanitarian crisis. The people of the occupied territories have been living under an apartheid system according to the UN and Amnesty International. I have been the leader of the South Jersey Amnesty International chapter for over 30 years, and I'm very involved in community and local issues. I was in my previous town. I actually received a Martin Luther King Award in 2020 for work with kids and for having an after-school program to help with uplifting their education and giving them nurturing. There are 224 Israeli soldiers who've been killed. There are 3 hostages that were killed by the Israeli Defense Forces. It just keeps going on and on and on. The United Nations have never had so many aid workers killed, 136 aid workers killed since this began on October 7th. And there's no end to it. Netanyahu is saying we have to cleanse Gaza from top to bottom, side to side. And he made that statement last year. So this is ethnic cleansing. We as contributors in society, as global citizens, have an obligation to stand up and do something. You can bomb the world to pieces, but you cannot bomb the world to peace. And as Martin Luther King said in his letter to from the Birmingham jail, we shall all repent at this time, not only for the hateful words and deeds of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good ones. And it really is time for us. We talked about Black History Month. It's time for us to take a stand in reality and not just practice words. So I am really appealing to you to take a stand in this and be able to look at yourselves in the mirror as you get older and older like I am, and to think that you've done something right. This is a chance in history, and it may not come again, for you to cast a vote in favor of justice and humanity. And if there's any questions that you'd like.
Georgina, I want to thank you for coming here. I know you came to my office hours on Monday and we talked for a while. And I encouraged you to come here and speak, and grateful for the work you've done for the last 30 years. People like you are how things get better. When I saw you, I think at the MLK event at the Vogel, and they were, Andy Kim was there and Frank Malone was there, and they were talking about national issues. And one of the things I said was, one of the reasons I chose to run for mayor here was the world just felt a little overwhelming to have an influence on, and I wanted to, be able to have a direct impact on my community. My mom always said, and not just my mom, but lots of people think globally, act locally. So that's what I've been trying to do. This council ran on a ticket of trying to be transparent and accessible, and it was really divided here in Red Bank, and we were making an effort to unify, which is one of the concerns I have with passing a resolution like this. And invariably there will be angry people on both sides, whichever way we act. But we're really working hard to, come out of a dark period for Red Bank and unite this town and make some tangible progress here. So,
I appreciate that, and I thank you for thanking me for my good work, but this is an opportunity for all of you to do the right thing. And over 25,000 human beings in Gaza have been murdered, mostly women and children. And you talk about focusing locally. I agree, focus locally. But there has been precedent set where you have done resolutions outside of this locality, like the nurses' strike, like reparations. And it's an excuse to say that you are only focused on Red Bank. Every one of you agrees with this concept of stopping the killings. Every one of you. I spoke with you. One I didn't. Every one of you. But for whatever reason, whether it's political, religious, afraid of being ostracized, losing business, these are so material reasons for not doing it. If we were back in Second World War, in Warsaw Ghetto, where we're being fenced in and being murdered, wouldn't we have liked people from the outside to have had a voice to try and stop it? And we're funding this, so it is local. It's our taxpayers' money. So I don't think these are real reasons, with all due respect, Mr. Portman. And I think you really have to examine your conscience and do the right thing. And I'm going to read the resolution. Resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and Israel and resumption of full humanitarian aid. I'll just say one whereas and then skip them all to the bottom. Whereas the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Red Bank, New Jersey recognize the importance of peace and security for all communities and nations around the world, regardless of national, ethnic or religious affiliations, and the Mayor and the City Council advocate for the safety, dignity, freedom and equality of all people, regardless of religion, race or nationality. And the Mayor and the City Council of Red Bank recognize that all human life is precious. On October 7th, 23, a violent attack by Hamas claimed the lives of over 1,200 men, women and children in Israel, with 240 more taken hostage. And since then, over 24,000 Palestinians, 24,000, twice the population of Red Bank, that's my statement, have been killed, including 250 healthcare workers, 136 UN aid workers, and over 50,000 civilians injured. Lives continue to be at imminent risk of death even as we speak if a ceasefire is not achieved without delay. Be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council join with representatives of other cities in calling on our President and congressional members to demand an immediate ceasefire to urgently end current violence in Gaza and Israel with the safe return of remaining hostages, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to the offices of New Jersey congressional representatives, senators, and the United States President Joseph Biden, urging them to take immediate action, to use their positions, that's all it is, and call for an end to this devastating violence and the resumption of delivery of full humanitarian aid be delivered. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. Yes, Ben.
I want to thank you for coming to our office hours twice. And I can't wait now.
I'll never forgive you.
I'm with you personally. As you know, I'm a Unitarian Universalist. I believe my church is done such that you've asked. And yes, of course, our federal tax dollars are paying for this. As I said to you last night, but I just want to say it here, my own feelings and convictions on this are one thing and others. And before I feel comfortable doing this, I would have to have some more discussion with other groups here. I don't need to name them specifically, but I did last night with you. And I do appreciate your coming here and giving us your unfiltered view and passion on this issue. I don't know if we're going to make you happy, but I think everyone out here is listening. And I'll be in touch.
I appreciate that and thank you very much. And it's not really to make me happy, but it's to stop any more destruction and any more
Take a stand.
killing, any more killings. And I think your parents would be very proud if you voted the right way. As an aside.
I know where my parents would be. They would be with me.
I know. And will it be done over weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks as more and more people are being killed and injured? Or do you plan to meet with these people soon?
I actually don't know the answer to that yet. But I probably will have more discussion with my colleagues.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you very much. Mayor, may I say something? Georgina, I want to thank you so much for coming here. I'm with you that the killing really has to stop. But I also wanted to share in today's Washington Post that Biden's administration is sending the CIA director to go to Israel and negotiate the release of all hostages in Gaza and Israel and a ceasefire. So, I mean, so things are happening. though not as quickly as we would like. But I thank you so much for coming.
Appreciate
and
that. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Anyone else have any comments? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Douglas DeStefano. I reside in Rumson. I hope you don't use that against me. And just for the record, I live in a modest divorced dad's house. I'm attending the meeting to ask the mayor, the council member Bontakis, and the business manager, Mr. Gant, if you have received my proposal for the complete restoration of the War Memorial on Monmouth Street, referred to as handing down Old Glory.
Yes. I did receive that thought.
Yeah, I've actually been discussing that with Oscar, our Parks and Recs director, and our DPW director, to see if there's, I want to be in compliance with local public contracts and making sure that we're not just taking one quote, but we have a due diligence. But I did receive it by a forwarded message, so I appreciate you doing that.
Right.
In full disclosure, I haven't had the opportunity to fully review the actual project, see the site, and
Okay. I would make myself available to answer questions after the council has reviewed the proposal. I do know it's within New Jersey state law that it could be awarded as a professional service since it's under $40,000.
I'm a little confused. What's happening? You want to just tell me?
He's here. I didn't send it to everyone. I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's just a public meeting, so if the public's at home
Yeah.
trying to suss
So
out what's
I
happening.
sent an unsolicited proposal, because this is what I do, is restore monuments, mainly bronze plaques, etc. I did send an unsolicited proposal to the township for the restoration of that war memorial that's on Monmouth Street, right next to Toast. It's in terrible shape. I have an extensive background in doing these kind of projects throughout Washington, D.C.
Do you mind moving the mic a little closer?
Yes, I'm sorry. I do have an extensive background and portfolio of doing this kind of work in Washington, D.C. And I recently restored the founding statue of Eli Stokes in Ocean Grove, where you can see my work. Did I answer your question, Council Member?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's my first time, so.
Yeah, you did great. You did great.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm sure Jim you'll be hearing from the manager. Anyone else have any comments? Yes.
Welcome back, Cindy.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening, Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace Street. Got a question. I'm wondering, you revised this ordinance, this graffiti ordinance. Have we done any ticketing or anything with that? Has anything happened? Does anybody know?
We'll have to ask. We'll have to check with the chief.
Okay, because I read, the police blotter, and it always says, graffiti reported here, graffiti reported here. I mean, let's face it, you're not going to be able to find somebody who does graffiti. So, what I found to be a big problem in Red Bank when I was on council and I was code, and still to this day, and I have always had this problem in Red Bank, are the stickers. Okay? Stickers, to me, and I think I might have brought this up because I wanted you to put this in the graffiti ordinance, and you said you would deal with it individually. But I think you should just amend the graffiti ordinance, because when you find stickers on something, you can always identify where that sticker came from. You can get in touch with that person, and the stickers are out of control. I was talking to River Center today. They're in charge of taking the stickers off the big bellies and the trash cans and the light poles. DPW is. And then River Center, I don't know anymore, because everything is so plastered with stickers. I just stopped peeling them. But it's vandalism, right? And it looks terrible. I mean, the Linden street sign pole is totally covered in stickers. And once you start one sticker, everybody piles on. If it's clean, you got a better chance of staying clean. So I really want you to think about amending that graffiti ordinance to say, you know, stickers and flyers. Oh, you did? Wow, I can't believe that.
Democracy working.
What does it say? What does it say about stickers? Because I didn't read it.
Personalized graffiti is any inscriptions, words, figures, and then I added the word stickers or designs that are drawn, etched, marked, painted, pasted, scratched, stapled, or otherwise affixed.
So when I,
But better yet.
well, nobody put me on the historic preservation or the EC, so.
I understand that you discussed this with DPW already? You made a request recently?
Who did I talk to? Yes.
Yeah, so the director, Terrence, he discussed this with you already.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I love Terrence.
Right on top of it.
He is, he's great. It was a very good pick. Except he messed up at the snowstorm.
Come on.
I told him. He didn't put the signs out that say no parking. And it's very important on Wallace Street because we're so close to town. All right, so when I find a sticker, what do I do with it? And I peel it off, who do I bring it to be fined? The police station?
Code.
Take it to code. When I want to file a grievance.
There's a form on the website.
Right.
If you want to file any complaint with code, you go there and you file.
Right, I know about that one.
Okay, so that's what you would do.
But if this is a borough ordinance that we're talking about being violated, shouldn't the borough?
What?
That's what code is.
That's what code is. Code is part of the.
Oh, so code should be enforcing, that's what you're telling
We're
me.
the liaison to code.
Listen, Kate, code doesn't do poop around here anymore, and everybody knows it. So, you know, you're telling me it's code, that's good,
Yeah.
then I will get in touch with code.
Okay. Yeah, you
I just
use the
didn't
form on
know,
the website.
I didn't know whether to take it to the police or not.
A sticker to the police.
Oh, it's going against, it's vandalism.
Okay.
Do you see my point? So I'm just being clear here. I'd like to be clear. Okay, so that's really good to know. Another thing is, and I've been talking to you this about a million times, are programming these pay stations to say free parking on Sundays. You know, only people that read Red Bank Green or tap into Red Bank know that Red Bank has parking, free parking on Sundays. I know that it's very easy to program these things. I went through this before when I was on council, and they were all Democrats but me. They wouldn't change it. They would not do it, and I think it's because you get a revenue. Because all the visitors coming into town are trying to pay into these pay stations.
Jimmy, you talked to Bill.
I've talked to Bill about it. Bill tells me to talk to Terrence about it. I talked to Terrence, and, you know, it's been back and forth and this and that, and also with a street sign. Did Terrence talk to you about a street sign? All right, we'll have to talk.
Okay.
But anyway, all right, so that's good. If you can program the pay stations, because, you know, you say you're so concerned about businesses, let's bring the people in. More people will come in if they know they can park for free on Sundays. Okay, very good, thank you. All right, that's it for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Alan Hill, 64 McLeod Street. Mayor, I'm coming back to you on this one. And it's to go back, and I'm not going to say about anything, the right and wrongs of the situation, but I am going to briefly go back to the Palestine-Israeli situation. And I recall that shortly after the commencement, although when I say commencement, we're talking about hundreds of years of history, but of the present troubles, shall we say, in the area, you put out a letter in your name to the people of Red Bank explaining why you supported the Israeli side on this, and also finished off with saying the town of Red Bank is with Israel. Now, can I tell you, yes you did, can I tell you, anybody who knows that much about the history of this thing knows you cannot do that. And you should also know that you cannot say that. You cannot say the town is with you and then treat this resolution like you have just now. You can't just pick and choose what you want to do. I imagine you wrote that letter without the approval of council. Or if you did, well, I'm pretty certain that I know a lot of people in this council would be very upset with you. So, we're talking dual standards here. And we're also just assuming that people in the town don't know what the hell is going on. My family goes back to 1927, nearly 100 years ago. After the war, in 1946 and 47, my father was with British forces in Palestine and was there for 3 or 4 years during the course of the formation of the State of Israel. We know, a lot of us know what went on. But you can't, on the one hand, write a letter in your name and just make a blanket statement, the town of Red Bank is with Israel, and at the same time reject this lady's resolution. It's just hypocrisy. But thank you.
I think there's someone online. Hold on, we'll get someone online.
Hello, this is Mimo Christian. How are you all today? I am calling actually for the clerk. I missed a portion of the meeting in which minutes were adopted, but I called to make some adjustments to the minutes that I read that were placed out. One, let's see. All of the things that I stated in the last council meeting were not properly represented in the minutes, so I wanted to make sure that those were corrected.
Ramon, I'm sorry, can you just state your address as well for the clerk?
I reside at 15 Marion Street in Red Bank, and that's one of the things that needed to be corrected. It's Marion Street. And then I wanted to correct some of my statements that were put on the record. You ready, Laura? So one of the statements I said that was misinterpreted was, what I said was this: I was not a campaign supporter of the Portman, and most definitely not of Kate Triviano, but that did not impede my ability to serve the marginalized community in Red Bank and work closely with them. That was one statement. Another statement was, what makes this situation even more egregious is you, Billy, referring to Billy, and Kate went against the direct recommendation of the Executive Director of the Housing Authority, Lisa Richardson, and the recommendation of your fellow council member and the Housing Authority liaison, David Cassidy. That was my statement. Another statement that was misrepresented was that Kate, absolute power corrupts all of the time. Currently, the chief of police is being investigated, but quite honestly, Kate, I don't know how it's not you. That was the statement. And then the last statement was that there is no room for politics when it comes to affordable housing in Red Bank. I just wanted to make sure that those were accurate on the record because they currently are not. But thank you very much. And then also too, Ms. Triviano, I did take you up on your offer to call you. To be fair, it has not been longer than 48 hours that I've left a message, but I've not heard back from you. So I do look forward to hearing from you as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Anyone else have comments? Yes.
Suzanne Viscomi, 25 Cedar Street. I brought this up many times, and I just wanted to see if there was an update. Now that lunch break is open, there's been tremendous amount of traffic and also foot traffic and people crossing that crazy intersection of Bridge and Dr. James. So I was wondering where we are about doing something. I was walking my dog the other day, and there was almost 2 people being hit because it's that weird turn. And now people are dropping off stuff at lunch breaks, and they're blocking up to the curb, so you don't really have a good view. It's gotten really wanky out there. It's really, it's pretty bad.
I just wanted to confirm, Bridge and Chestnut?
Dr. James.
Bridge and Dr. James.
Or Bergen.
So I believe that the town has a $243,000 grant for pedestrian improvements, and the project's not designed yet. Obviously, we're going to be waiting for budget adoption, make sure we make this project into the budget funding, but there is a grant for that.
So you're talking a couple months.
Sure.
Because I don't know if there's something we can do. I know there was, they put up these tall little rubber pellet posts so people don't park to the curb. Yes, a couple of them were knocked down already, but it is gotten pretty bad now that you have that lunch break open. So, hopefully nobody gets hurt.
I'm sure to discuss with the chief of police and see if there's anything we recommend.
Unfortunately, government is slow because we knew lunch break was opening up, and we know the demand, and we know a lot of people come from out of town to drop off stuff and need our help. It's just gotten pretty bad. Great, thank you.
Mary Ellen Mess, 95 Hudson Avenue. I just wanted to say that I wholeheartedly support Mrs. Shanley's resolution that she presented this evening. I think it's a very sad state of affairs that human beings are reluctant to actually support a resolution for a ceasefire that may influence some political action to stop the genocide that's taking place in Gaza right now. I realize it's very difficult to criticize the actions of Israel. It usually invites accusations of anti-Semitism, but I think the situation there is dire, and I just wanted to voice my support for the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments, questions? No? Anyone online? I have a motion. Oh, yes.
One last thing. Just in following up, Georgina Shanley, 115 Harding Road, right now, following up to this last speaker, to do with anti-Semitism. My husband happens to be Jewish, so just for the record, I don't think I'm an anti-Semite. It's nothing to do with anti-Semitism. It's to do with humanity and lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to close the public comments?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Christine, you have anything? Okay. David? Nancy?
Hi, everybody. The EC, Green Team, and Animal Welfare Committee will be meeting together for the beginning at our February meeting in order to discuss the chemicals that are put on lawns and their safety for pets. That will be part of our meeting. I also want to discuss that there are going to be some changes to our council hours. Our AM hours on Wednesdays will continue to be held in person every Wednesday at the Senior Center. It's walk-in, no appointments are required, and evening council hours, which are also scheduled for Wednesdays, will be held by appointment. So that will start in February, so be prepared for the updates. If you have any issues, questions, or concerns, or ideas, you're always welcome to go by. Generally, on Wednesday mornings, Ben and I are there. We enjoy spending the time with the seniors and then, interacting with whoever comes in. The other thing I want to mention is regarding the Sustainable Land Use Pledge. I know it explicitly does not say affordable housing, but if you look at one of the whereas clauses, it does say can lead to increased societal ills such as decreased mobility, high housing costs, increased greenhouse gas emissions, loss of open space, and degradation of natural resources, etc. So even though it explicitly does not say make housing affordable, it is something that is being looked at. Regarding the plastic bag ban that is currently in place, I'd like to remind residents and businesses the ban is still in effect. And it is a state law, so it's state mandated, it's not just us. And any infractions should be reported over to code enforcement. I was just reading a study that said before the bag ban, a typical store lost $9,000 to $13,000 because they gave away for single-use bags. Yes, people are now using reusable bags, but the problem is that people are not remembering to use their reusable bags, so please reuse your reusable bags, that's what they're for. And so far, a typical price of plastic bags has resulted in about $95 million in savings. So I thought that was a pretty large number to share. Today I was on a call with the New Jersey Bike Ped Coalition, and they asked to talk about some of the tactical urbanism projects that we did. And Sue mentioned Dr. James Parker Boulevard, and that's the one where the intersection is being clean as a positive distraction. So a lot of people like the idea. That same design has been copied in Passaic, and there are a lot of other towns doing it. So as we go forward looking into what to do with this grant, I just want to make sure that we take care, make sure we follow the recommendations that was in the report. Other than that, everything's peachy keen, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks.
Ben?
So I just wanted to comment on your comment on the affordable housing, and that it's an area of interest to me and many in that council. So one of the things on Jim, our new administrators, is when we have an appointment coming up, is that I want to talk to them about maybe having some meeting with them. There's a statewide affordable housing association that have been in touch with us. Obviously, I don't want to operate independently, but I'd like to see what other options we have, for improving affordable housing stock without necessarily relying just on developers. So there are some resources in the state. I don't know if anything will fit well in Red Bank, but if anybody has suggestions and ideas on this, feel free to reach out. I see you back there, Mary Ellen. Also, I want to comment again. Councilwoman Blackwood brought up the issue of our council hours. Now, if I understand, we're not going to have library ones unless somebody asks for it. Is that correct?
It's by appointment.
By appointment.
Yeah.
And we're keeping the hours. So I just want to say how I think it's been very successful. What a great idea. One of the things, and in fact tonight, is that we could sit last night for 45 minutes and talk about and be educated on many of these issues. And here we have 5 minutes, and it's amazing actually how powerful this is. And I know you may have had very good as well on your Mondays. So I'm sure hope we keep going forward to this. I think it benefits us, it benefits the town. Obviously, not everything on our checklist has been done yet. It's going to take a while to get to everything. Everything from canopies on top of the, the performing place to keep the performers out of the sun to, housing issues and everything in between. And thank you very much, residents, for keeping us busy at these office hours. Actually, we last night we were going for all 2 hours, Christina and I at the library. Yeah, in the morning as well. Also, I wanted to comment on Mayor Portman's excellent presentation at the MLK event, and you represented this so well. It was great to have it over at the Vogel powerful Red Bank event with our officials, and I know the borough was involved. I think Mr. Gant was there, and our chief of police was there. It was nice to see such a robust turnout, and thank you for representing us so well here. Wherein my liaison to the schools, I wanted to mention that Sue Visconti, who is here before audience, board member, is also now the vice president of the Red Bank Borough Public Schools. Congratulations. I know she's been on the board a long time, and wow. So I texted her congratulations personally as well. Also, I wanted to mention that Red Bank Charter School Foundation is running a campaign to raise money for their school gym. Anyone who donates maybe $50 by January 1st will receive 5 greeting cards from the kids. Go to the Red Bank Charter School website for more details. I believe the deadline on this is the end of the month. Parks and Rec, which I'm liaison, has a few things I wanted to mention tonight. One is that we have this next week on Tuesday, a Parks and Rec meeting, hopefully in this very room, open to the public. We will be talking about the various proposals around the stadium, Count Basie Field. We have a grant in about that. So if you have an interest in the topic, come on here, come on at 7 o'clock, January 30th, Tuesday, right here. Let's see, we're also taking registration for some baseball and softball teams. We extended the deadline to January 31st. 2, youth track field is open for registration, kids 5 through 18. And the recreation department is looking for summer staff. So if you know anybody who's looking for a job this summer, please have them get a hold of Oscar and our recreation department with some names. And that concludes my remarks, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Laura.
Hi. So the library had their meeting, and we elected new officials also. So the president will now be in Goldman, and then Sue Visconti will now be vice president, and Marjorie Cavalier will be treasurer, and Jim White will be our secretary. So we had that meeting this week, and that's about it. It's been great office hours.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that the changing of appointment only for the Wednesday night hours will be beneficial, as there are weeks when nobody comes for weeks, and then suddenly there will be a night when people are waiting an hour to be seen. So I think that this just is a great way of organizing that so that the time can be spent properly with people, and so that the council members don't feel bad trying to shove somebody out when the week before there's nobody there. So it's all a grand experiment, but it's wonderful that it's being done. On the River Center side, there's a sweet stroll coming up Saturday, February 10th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in downtown Red Bank. You can pick up your complimentary Red Bank tote bag and sweet stroll map at C'est La Vie Red Bank on Monmouth Street. And then you can stroll through downtown Red Bank to gather treats, shop great sales, and enjoy sweet experiences. And they're encouraging people to dress in Valentine's Day colors. So once again, that's going to be Saturday, February 10th, between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. I want to thank all the first responders tonight who are out dealing with the traffic issues and everything else. I'm sure people will hear that somebody was trying to get hit by a train tonight. So there was major traffic issues all throughout town. I parked my car and actually got out of my car and walked the other half of the way here. So there was lots of...
It was the little silver.
Correct, but all of Red Bank, you couldn't move your car for over an hour. So people were probably wondering what was happening, and it was something tragic. But I just wanted to thank all the first responders who jumped in, because they were directing traffic at the four-way, at the train tracks, all over town. People had to jump into action right around dinner time. So I am grateful for that. Thanks.
I just want to commend our new manager, Mr. Gant. It's been 3.5 weeks. He's getting remarkably up to speed. it's certainly nice that you're in that fourth floor office when I'm there. Office hours are right across the hall. So good job. Well, I'm sure you're going to follow it up some more good news in your manager's report. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Wow, manager, I love it.
This is number 2. Just wanted to let everybody know that the Mechanic Street work is about to begin. We do have a DOT grant for that for $311,000. So the timeline of this, just so everybody's aware, is that they're going to start with videoing the line to verify the integrity of the pipe, and then determine the sizes of the pipes for water trenching. So until the end of January, the crew will be saw cutting for the water trench on Mechanic. Beginning in February, they're going to video the line, clean the line, and then line the pipe. Around mid-February through March, they're going to replace the 8-inch, or replace the main with an 8-inch water pipe, which will be delivered and installed. And also replace the services, valves, and hydrants. The end of March through April, they're going to be installing curbs, sidewalks, aprons. That's when the tree planting and restoration will start there. And then beginning of May, remove the concrete roadway that's on Mechanic and mill and pave. So that was a project, obviously, that was awarded some time ago. And we'll be monitoring the work on Mechanic. Continuing with my 90-day plan by way of meeting with all of our union representation, department heads, and elected officials on one-on-one meetings, which I've had a few already, almost through all the department heads. Been reviewing the collective bargaining agreements, our 2024 budget preparations with our CFO, continuing to review current and future projects and make decisions about the workplace culture. One of the instances which we talked about today, and institute changes where necessary. I met with Millennium Strategies, which is our grant consultant, to discuss grant progress and future grant options for the borough. In the coming weeks, I'll review I will review further the proposed changes to the affordable housing bill that is set to revamp affordable housing going into the 4th round in 2025. Lawmakers actually just met today to discuss the tweaks to that law further. So as I get more information, I will present more information. Meeting with our engineers next week at Marine Park to discuss the next steps, and we'll be discussing potential options for the improvements at the DPW site. And I want to recognize and commend our public works staff and leadership for their work over the last 2 snow and ice events. Maybe 1 or 2 things were missed, but 2 years out of practice on that without any snow or any ice to really report. I think that those guys did a tremendous job. The late night forecasts, especially during the last storm, called for increased snow totals, and they obviously knocked that down by early morning. So we had to make those adjustments, but they prepared very well, and they're going to proceed us. That's it, sir.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make such a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.